I haven't been in the social impact or social enterprise ecosystem for a very long time. I started my career in entrepreneurship in 2008, and we worked a lot with the Malaysian government because the Malaysian government wanted to build an ecosystem of technology startups. And they were giving out a lot of grants, but just because you give someone money doesn't mean they become an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of capacity building that was required, and we were very lucky that they took a lot of our recommendations in place. And so we built an ecosystem for startups, bringing together academia, investors, technology sector, corporates, and then the startups were in the middle. So I was telling Hila today that I learned a lot about myself through her lecture this morning, because when we were talking about cynicism, I think having worked with startups, raising funds, and going through all of those processes, I became very, very cynical, because it was a dog-eat-dog industry. Many of the startups were having a lot of, I suppose, crisis, because you heard Jim, very few of them get funding. So many of them are doing great things. And you see that a very small percentage actually grow through the phases. But what we also saw in Malaysia was, because there was so much of government support, startups became less hungry because there were grants being given out. They became, I suppose, not as ambitious to leave Malaysia. So they became very, very satisfied with a small market, and they didn't want to grow. And I began thinking, you've got so much given to you, there's so much opportunity. Why aren't you doing more about it? And I guess, as I know I'm telling my life story here, but just bear with me. I guess along the way, I was given the opportunity to start working with micro enterprises. I don't know whether you know what micro enterprises are, but they are traditionally one-woman businesses. They sell food, they make items to sell, like crafts. And through my experience of working with them and helping them sell online or use e-commerce or things like that, I literally saw how you change the life of one woman, you change the life of the entire village. Because when she starts making more money, she brings her family into it. When the family comes into it, they make more money and sell more goods, and then they bring their neighbors into it. And soon the entire village is making these goods to sell. And everyone, kind of the multiplier effect of everyone growing, because you helped one person, was extremely, it was extremely deep for me to see that when you help one person, you can help so many people. And then COVID struck, and throughout my career, I think we brought in a lot of people to work with the ecosystem and entrepreneurs. So there were investors. A lot of my startups that we had worked with came back to pay it forward. So I had a database, I would say, of about 200 to 250 mentors that reached out to me in one way or the other and said, entrepreneurs are really, really having a tough time during COVID, and what can we all do together? And so we launched, this free mentoring clinics for everyone to actually work together. And I suppose the nice thing that you find in the social enterprise, social impact, and environmental impact ecosystem is the willingness for people to pay it forward without getting anything in return. And that's really, really very, very heartening to see. And that was my initial foray into social entrepreneurship. I still work a lot with startups. I've raised funds for them. I've raised funds for myself to invest in them. And what I truly believe in as far as an ecosystem is concerned is that no one is alone. Everyone needs everyone else. And in order to grow, I think it is important for, whether it's a startup or corporate sector or an NGO or government, for us all to actually feel that we are connected to each other, but we also need each other. And so if you talk about an ecosystem as far as Malaysia is concerned, it's a very rich ecosystem. It really is. The government has gone above and beyond to do as much as they can to help. And as an ecosystem, I think it's important for all of us to realize that for all the profit that is made, it needs to be plowed back into those that need it the most. So I don't want to make anyone cry, but I'm going to cry.